And those 13,000 stores are going to have devices that employees are going to carry, store employees. They need to be managed from the cybersecurity perspective. You are going to have a bunch of POS. You are going to have handhold devices. So that's where your ITSM workflows become really important, because you need to provide support right away. If you are not able to provide that, then you are probably halting the operations of the store.
Growing a business requires a holistic approach that extends beyond sales and marketing. This approach needs alignment among people, processes, and technologies. So if you're a business owner, operations, or finance leader looking to learn growth strategies from your peers and competitors, you're tuned into the right podcast. Welcome to the WBS Podcast, where scalable growth using business systems is our #1 priority. Now, here is your host, Sam Gupta.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's show. If you're joining for the first time, this is part of our industry series, for which we meet every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. We review one vendor or the solution. And for today, we have Freshworks. And I have to admit, my understanding of Freshworks was very different. But now, based on the research, it's just mind blowing the amount of business that they have done. So we are going to review all of that, how big they are, and the amount of impact that they have made in the community. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Before we do that, we are going to start with everybody's intros. My quick intro: Sam Gupta, Elevate IQ. Elevate IQ is the independent vendor agnostic analyst and advisory firm. On that note, Andy, do you want to go next?
Absolutely, Sam. And like every week, thank you so much for inviting me. I always have a good time, and I always learn stuff. Which somebody my age, you think I've learned it all already, but no, I learn something new every week.
You're still learning. You
I'm
don't know.
still learning. It's not a
You don't know
destination.
everything, Andy. Come on.
It's not a destination. It's a journey.
It is a journey. Sorry.
My name's Andy Pratico. I've been involved in ERP software specifically for manufacturers all my life. I lived in the U.S. for 11 years. I've worked with manufacturers in about 2/3 of the U.S. states and almost every Canadian province, and well over 1,000 manufacturers in my career. And I also help manufacturers by educating them on how to uncover the truth about ERP systems before they buy. Because, the thing about ERP systems, especially for smaller companies, the satisfaction rating is horrible. And I try to help companies understand what to look for when they're buying a system before they buy to increase their chances.
Yeah, right now, if you want to increase the chances of your success, I think you need to master tariffs. That is going to be the topic of today.
Oh my God. Oh my goodness. Pardon me.
Shrestha, do you want to go?
25% is not insignificant.
Oh, it's going to be 50% very soon, Andy. Okay. It's going to increase. So? It's like bidding,
How much do I have to go before you fold all your cards, I guess, eh?
I don't know. Like nobody folds cards anymore, I guess, in this new world.
Well, yeah, but Big Brother downstairs or down south is a lot more bigger and a lot more powerful than we are.
Let's see where the cards are going to be. I think we will find out. Okay, Chester, do you want to go next? Sorry, this has become a news channel now.
Yes, it has.
Thank you, Sam. Hi, everyone. My name is Shrestha Das, and I'm working as an industry research analyst at Elevate IQ. Excited to learn more about Freshworks today.
Yeah, so Andy, I was measuring your quality in terms of your pronunciation versus how she pronounces. I think there is 0.06% deviation.
Is there?
How you do it? Yeah.
0.06%
deviation. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I'm still a Canadian. I still have that darn Canadian accent,
So that is 0.06%, but you are paying 25% right now.
That's right. Plus my tariffs. I think that Shaysta will be fine.
Okay, all right, guys. So I'm going to start with the quick briefing. If you're in the audience joining for the first time, make sure you guys post your questions, comments. We always like to review them. We are a big fan of creating this three-way conversation. So we will be reviewing your comments as we go through the presentation today. And again, quick background, if you have never seen any of the reviews, which means that you have missed at least 500 videos that are posted on our YouTube channel
And you've
for
missed
any.
500 videos that were amazing, by the way.
Exactly. It's like PhD, for free that we are giving to you.
And by the way, maybe we should call this station the SAM NBC.
Station SAM NBC. As long as it has SAM, it's going to work like magic. Uh, Sorry. Okay. So here, and again, if you have missed those videos, you should catch up on them, I guess. Maybe it's going to take 2 years for you, but once you come back, then you need to know which are the sources that we generally use for these reviews. So a couple of things, especially if a company.
The titles of all Sam's podcasts are titled specifically so you know the topic. So if you have a specific interest, just search through them all and just, look at the ones that are most interesting to you.
Yeah, the easiest way to look up is going to be Elevate IQ plus, any products that you are looking for. So, for example, let's say if you're looking for Zendesk, ServiceNow, then Elevate IQ plus ServiceNow is the easiest way to look up the YouTube videos. And obviously, podcast is going to be slightly difficult. For that, you can ping either Andy, me, Shrestha, anybody. We will be more than happy to help you.
Absolutely.
So now, coming back to the sources, so generally our preference is always going to be the financial statements. If this is going to be a public company, which is about where we find the most truth. And then we go back in time and look at the historical stories, customer
with a
stories.
0.06% deviation of the truth.
Generally, it's 0.05 in this case, Andy.
0.05? Okay.
Sometimes 0.055, but yeah,
okay,
we try to be closer.
as long as we can keep it under that threshold.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm trying to manage my limits. I have laws here. And,
what's going to happen when you change the name of your company to SAM NBC, though?
SAM NBC. I mean, that could be a choice because right now we don't know whether we are going to survive tomorrow or not. In the new world. So maybe name change is a new game, I guess.
There you go.
Okay. So these are different sources that we generally utilize. And now coming back to the overall positioning, I guess. So in this particular case, we have reviewed a lot of different CRM solutions, and CRM generally has many different buckets. So one is going to be your sales cloud, marketing cloud, customer experience cloud, customer service cloud. Sometimes that is also called call center cloud. All of these clouds are going to be part of your CRM bucket. Now, in this particular case, Freshworks takes slightly different approach. Okay, they are also bundling ITSM as part of this. Now, if you are not familiar with what ITSM is, ITSM stands for IT Service Management. So this is going to be the processes that are designed for IT folks, and this is going to be a system that is going to manage their processes. Now, most people, at least in this community, which is going to be primarily concentrated towards manufacturing, distribution, retail, now they must be wondering, why do you need so much or system for IT community? IT community also gets very big depending upon how many devices you have, depending upon what kind of infrastructure you are handling, depending upon what devices you are selling to your customers, and if they need to be managed as well. So there is substantial flow for IT folks, and generally, CIOs, VP of IT, they are going to be responsible for managing this work. So these workflows are not only going to be triggered more from the customer perspective, but they are also going to be triggered from the employee perspective. So they have a name called EX, which is called employee experience. And employee experience is as critical as CX, at least in this bucket. And that's why these technologies are so hot. Not that these companies primarily cater to the employee experience, but the whole experience becomes chaos if that is not managed by a system, managed by a workflow, because there are too many moving parts in this space as well. And that's why the ITSM is extremely important. So when you look at ITSM workflows, generally the vendors that are going to be really prevalent in this space is number one, ServiceNow. ServiceNow primarily started in doing the ITSM activity. Then there were some of the traditional players, such as your BMC Remedy, Ivanti. These are the players that were very deep into IT workflow, telco workflow. the kind of integrations that you are going to need, they were very deep into that. Zendesk sort of tries to claim that they have that, but they don't have the real ITSM workflow. So one of the thing that you need to know is the majority of companies that are really successful that are from India, and this is from India as well, uh, and there are literally two or three big unicorns, and this is one of them. And generally, they are very deep into IT workflow. If you look at Zoho, Zoho is developing their IT workflow as well because they are really successful in that space. That is just surprising. The amount of work and the amount of processes that happens in the IT world is just mind blowing. So ITSM is a very unique category in general, and the approach that they have taken, they are not only providing the CRM suite, but they are also providing ITSM. In fact, this could be more of the ITSM solution than a CRM. Their CRM is sort of limited. If you want the integrated experience, then you can use this. But for the most part, they are really deep and big into that ITSM space. So now, who is disrupting whom is going to be a question. Whether ServiceNow is disrupting these guys or these guys are disrupting ServiceNow. Don't ask me.
Help me understand. So ITSM, IT Service Management, is that designed for technology companies that are providing service?
Technology, retail could have a lot of devices, let's say at the store level. For example, you have POS, you have
Right.
some of the what is that called, the devices that you put on the store to monitor the traffic. So any of the hardware devices that you are using, and if they are going to have some sort of IP, then that goes through your IT management, because you need to worry about the cybersecurity workflow. You need to worry about the centralized access. So there are so many different things that need to be managed from the IT perspective, IT network management, all of that. Okay, so there are many industries. In fact, I mean, you'll find this in manufacturing as well. It's not that manufacturing is never going to use this. Manufacturing is going to have use case for this as well if they are going to have too many machines, too many devices, too many customer devices. So it does not necessarily reside inside the ERP system.
So why
um,
would the manufacturer use it for
depend,
tracking their maintenance or what?
so this is generally the IT workflow management. So if the manufacturing company is going to be really big, and if they have
Okay.
too many IT tickets
Okay.
they are opening, either from customer perspective or from the employee perspective, they would need something. Generally, the ERP systems, they might have a little bit of customer service workflow, but they don't necessarily have the real IT workflow. When you would require integration with these devices, sometimes you need to do remote management, do the patching, do the security. So it's just too much in that space from the integration perspective. So that's why ITSM matters. So that's their secret sauce, that they have both of these combined. So any industries where both of these are going to be sort of part of the suite that you are going to need, that's where this matters a lot, especially in industries where you don't have much of a play for ERP. For example, let's say if you look at retail, healthcare, tech, not-for-profit, government, all of these companies, they might use a little bit of ERP, but for the most part, ERP for them is going to be just the financial reporting. They don't use ERP for anything else. So now, where is your scheduling going to reside? That's always a question. My WFM colleagues argue that the scheduling needs to reside there. Okay. Here, IT guys are probably going to argue that it probably needs to reside here, because I'm doing the scheduling for field as well as for my own people. So again, you need to figure out your architecture in terms of who's going to be hosting which kind of processes, and that's where I guess you would require multiple systems regardless of the industry you are going to. So here, some of the competitors that we have, Zendesk. So Zendesk, they were always known for their customer service. They were not as known for employee experience. And I don't know if they have real ITSM work. They generally use add-ons for that. So that's going to be a real differentiator. And for example, let's say if you look at Umnitsa, and this is the company, that is very prevalent in the Zendesk space, and they have many different add-ons. So Umnitza is going to do the ITSM workflow, and Zendesk is going to do the customer service. So that's why they are sort of part of their ecosystem. But if you are going to be on Freshworks or Freshdesk, then you probably don't need these add-ons, because Freshworks is going to accommodate all of those processes. For the most part, when you look at the packaging of these two, the data model is probably not going to be as intertwined. So it's okay to keep them separate if you have to. And that's why sometimes these, in this particular space or in this particular bundling, you are going to find a lot of different SaaS systems that might not be as tightly integrated as, for example, let's say if you talk about ER. So here, that's the positioning of Umnitsa, that they are doing ITSM, and Zendesk is as sort of the CX part of it. They are doing the real customer service. Then ServiceNow, they are trying to do both, but both more from the enterprise perspective. So even though Freshworks is going to argue that they have enterprise capabilities as well, but when you get into the real enterprise workflows, things get a little thicker, especially if you talk about workflow security, etc. So obviously, it's going to be a little complicated. The implementation is probably going to be longer. Freshworks is designed to be very easy, primarily for SMB, but depending upon how complicated your process is. Now, Zoho, for the most part, has pretty much everything. They have ITSM, they have CX, they have ACM. They have a lot as part of their package. So Zoho is definitely going to be a competitor here. But they might not have as deep integration from the ITSM perspective, or from the CX perspective, as Freshworks is going to have, just because Freshworks is probably going to have more market share in the ITSM CX space, just because they are slightly specialized. Zoho is going to have market share in a lot of different places, including your CRM, ACM. Now, I think, in my mind, I think that the players that these guys are really disrupting are, for example, BMC Remedy. They were the legacy player, and I don't know where they stand at this point of time, to be completely honest. How many companies still use them, or are they dying, or are they innovating? I don't know. I don't have that understanding. But seems like, and I didn't know that these guys had so much market share. For example, BMC, I think HP has one tool. They have substantial market share in this space as well. IBM had some market share in this space. I don't know whether they still have that product, or the product is completely decommissioned, but they had that as well. CA Software, I don't know how they are doing as a company, but they were known for this particular space. Iventi is another one, and then Scope is probably an add-on on Zendesk. So there are too many different vendors that are prevalent in this particular space. Now, from the CX perspective, so all of your CRM vendors, Salesforce, HubSpot, Pipedrive, Microsoft, Dynamics, Sugar CRM, all of those are going to be competitors. More from the CX perspective, they are not going to have ITSM capability. If you have any comments, I can take those, or I can move to the next one. So, guys, for the most part, generally we like to cover the competitors that are going to be closest to, for example, Freshworks in this case. And our goal is going to be to provide you the list that you probably should be looking at if you are looking at Freshworks. So Zendesk is probably going to be the closest that most companies are probably going to include when they are evaluating Freshworks. And then Zoho is probably going to be the third closest, I would say. Then ServiceNow, if you are mixing these three in ServiceNow, something is not right, because ServiceNow is very enterprise grade solution. So, if you are in enterprise, then probably you should include ServiceNow. You are SMB, you probably should go for Freshworks, but Freshworks has a lot of large logos as well. So again, depending upon how much scalability are you looking for. So that's where you need to do a little bit of your requirements analysis, build your target operating model in terms of what you are trying to accomplish, and you need to vet against which platform is going to be the right fit for you. Pipedrive could be a remote comparison, I would say. It just comparable, I guess, only from the CX perspective. Pipedrive is not going to have ITSM capabilities. They have some flavors. For example, Pipedrive has CPQ. Freshworks also has inbuilt CPQ. Now, if you care for inbuilt CPQ, then these two could be a great fit. But for the most part, Pipedrive is not necessarily comparable with Freshworks, overall, from the product bundling perspective. So I'm not going to go very deep into Zendesk, Zoho, ServiceNow, and Pipedrive. If you're interested in checking in detail, then those videos are available on YouTube. And again, the easiest way to find those videos is Zendesk plus Elevate IQ, Zoho plus Elevate IQ. That's probably the easiest on YouTube that you'll be able to find.
So both Freshworks and Pipedrive both include a CPQ?
They have CPQ natively built as part of the platform. Yes. Other systems are going to rely on add-on.
Right.
For example, Sugar CRM has CPQ as well, but that CPQ is flavored from a different perspective. That is more geared towards industrial companies, manufacturers. They are going to require very different CPQ. Pipedrive would be more applicable for maybe commerce, maybe a little bit of technology companies, I guess. Freshworks is probably going to have very similar positioning. I don't think it'll work for manufacturing.
Okay.
Yeah, because their estimation process is very different. They require very different data. That's where Sugar CRM is very different. So that's pretty much it for this. I'll move to the next slide. I'm not going to go too deep into the comparisons. So here, some of the historical commentary about these guys. So this is coming from their financial statements. So they are saying we provide people first AI service software, and companies are already using AI buzzwords. I don't know how big they are going to be on AI, but they are obviously calling them AI. We know that Zendesk was making a lot of investment in AI as well. That was their priority when we reviewed them. So 90% of the companies are doing some sort of investment, and this is the space where you are going to find the majority of the use cases from AI perspective. Customer service is where the major benefit of AI is, and that's why these companies that are really ahead in that CX customer engagement game, they are the ones who are getting the most attention to build AI workflows as part of their process. The second is employee experience, which is really big as well. From the AI penetration perspective, these two are probably going to be the first two markets that are going to be heavily invested, penetrated. So here, if you really look at the pitch, I mean, the pitch is very similar to ServiceNow, and obviously they are very comparable offering. They both are attacking very similar market. So that's why the pitch is very similar. Now, here we have some more commentary coming from their financial statements again. So here they are saying CX products include Freshdesk, Freshdesk Omni, Freshdesk, Freshchat, Freshsales, and Freshmarketer. So Freshsales, Freshmarketer, Freshchat, Omni is very interesting. I think Omni is going to get into the whole what is that? The omni-channel chat scenario, which looks pretty when you look at the screens from Freshdesk perspective. And this is what, if you remember front review that we had done. And guys, if you're not sure about front, you might want to check that review as well on YouTube. So one thing that they were trying to argue is they were trying to bring all of these channels inside emails, and they were saying that nobody else could do this. But their comment and their argument was that you are not going to find an email interface. So now, if you are really fussy about email interface, then the front pitch makes sense. But this is going to do the same job, where you will be able to connect all of your channels, whether it is your WhatsApp, your email, you're going to have website, wherever your customers are coming from. All of these channels are going to be centralized at one place. So I don't see much of a benefit in going for front, to be completely honest, because these two are serving very similar functional need. Okay, so that's the intent of Freshdesk Omni. My understanding is going to be even Zendesk is going to have that, Zoho is going to have that. So I don't know if that is a real differentiator, to be completely honest. And then Freshdesk is going to be the customer service, offering. So again, this is where the CRM is, and I don't know how deep Freshmarketer and Freshsales is going to be. For the most part, they are known for their CX as well as customer engagement and ITSM. So Freshsales and Freshmarketer may be on a lighter side, overall from the capabilities perspective. If you try to compare this with tools such as HubSpot, these guys might be lighter. Now, the EX products include Freshservice, Fresh service for business teams, and Device 42. And Device 42 is where the real play is. And this is coming with the acquisition that they have done. So Device 42 gets into the whole hardware play. And that's why it is very interesting. And I don't think if we have seen any companies have done any sort of hardware acquisition so far. I don't know if even Zoho has that. So Zoho must rely on some sort of add-ons. So this is a real, what is that, Andy, the term, IT term called bring your own device, BYOD, right? BYOD was a term that was very common in the IT world, where if you are bringing your own device, any sort of laptop, mobile, all of those, but now you are going to have a lot more devices in general that either people are bringing or companies are going to need, because a lot more devices are going to have IP. So that's where the whole play of Device 42 is, and that is going to be an input for any of the ITSM products. So that's why this acquisition is a smart acquisition, for Freshworks. Even ServiceNow, I would think that they are probably not going to have inbuilt processes for that. They are probably going to rely on some external products. I know they have done some acquisitions, especially in the quality space, manufacturing space. So they are going very deep into the manufacturing space as well, ServiceNow. So they are trying to argue that they have the enterprise grade without the platforms are enterprise grade without the enterprise complexity. So for the most part, I mean, if you look at Zoho or Freshworks, they are definitely very rich functionally. There's no question there. But overall, if you compare their data model, especially if you're going to be in audit-centric scenarios where you require audit quality data, I think that's where you are going to run into challenges. Because for the most part, when you talk about you don't have enterprise complexity, that means your data model is going to be leaner, flatter. You have taken some shortcuts to enable that experience. Experience is great, but again, depending upon what your priority is. If your priority is audit level data, then you would require a lot tighter, data model than what Zoho or your Freshworks are going to offer. So again, the when you talk about the enterprise complexity, the reason why these enterprises are complex is because they have to go through very different regulatory requirements than average SMB. So that's why these products have that inbuilt, and sometimes they could be perceived as very complex. But again, if you are very, very, very regulated, audit heavy, you are in financial services industry, then your required needs are going to be very different. So I don't think Freshworks is going to be the right fit there. But then if you care for simplicity, you have limited implementation budget, then Freshworks is probably the right fit. So there are always layers to these buzzwords, so make sure you are paying attention to those. Obviously, these guys want to attack that, but again, there are always layers. So here they are saying over 60% of our annual recurring revenue was from customers with more than 250 employees, and more than 250 employees in my mind is still very SMB. So obviously these guys are going to argue that, hey, that's enterprise.
Well, it's probably mid-size, right?
Yeah. 250 is relatively smaller.
50 or larger is what they're saying.
Yeah. So I mean, let's say if you look at the ServiceNow size logos or SAP size logos, for that this is peanut. Yeah. So here, obviously these guys are very big as well. So this is the revenue figure, and they have been growing a lot. 20%, year over year growth. Any company that is doing this is just commendable, guys. Okay, so they did roughly 498 million in 2022, 596 in 2023, 720 in 2024, which is just mind blowing in this economy.
Well, a 20% growth for a small company is not that surprising, but they're $500 million and larger. That's outstanding.
Yeah. So here, overall, I guess if you look at their architecture, the architecture is very similar to how any other companies are going to position their AI layer. You have a little bit of backend, technical backend, and on top of that, they are overlaying their AI layer. So this is not any different, I guess. But what is exciting for me personally is they do have focus on very platform specific capability. Now the question is going to be how customizable they are going to be, especially for the industries where you do require deep customizability. And sometimes when you look at these systems that are going to be very sassy, they do run into issues. Even Zoho runs into issues because they are going to have substantial limitation at the object level, at the workflow level, even though that is not going to be apparent when you are looking at the contract. But they do have limitations. They are designed for smaller workloads. They are not designed to thicken the process, because if you do that, then your performance is going to be slow. So they are trying to manage that expectation for the SMB customers. That's why they have to design the system in that way. So those limitations are critical. My assumption is going to be even these guys are going to have limitations, but again, they have very large logos, so sometimes it's very hard to comment. How they are using it, how deep they are in terms of their process maturity on these platforms, etc. So there are always layers to these things. But for the most part, the platform aspect is very exciting, and my assumption is going to be that they do have some very strong capabilities to be able to customize the platform, because the kind of work that they have done is just, my expectation was that fresh work was much smaller, but seems like they are much bigger. So here, some more comments related to their technology. So you have Ruby on Rails, Java and MySQL, which is very rare to find nowadays. Ruby on Rails is very Shopify, reminiscing, I guess. And Shopify is the only company that I knew that they use that, but now we have found another one. So which is just interesting that they are using that. And then they have Java and MySQL as well, which is very common for similar platforms. As such, you don't have to worry about that, but for the most part, when you are going to customize, the experience might be slightly different. You might need to find Ruby on Rails developers or the skill set. So sometimes there could be some concerns around that, but that's pretty much it. Every platform is going to have different language. Sometimes when you look at JavaScript or Node.js, that is probably the most common these days, so that does help a little bit. But again, this is not as bad. Here they are talking about, for our CX products, with regards to CS, we primarily face competition from CS suites such as Salesforce. So they have called out their competition. And again, this you are only going to find in financial statements. So they are saying that Salesforce, Zendesk, and legacy vendors such as Oracle, SAP, they are saying Oracle and SAP as legacy in this particular space. And I don't know how much ITSM footprint Oracle or SAP had, to be completely honest. So I don't know if they are really comparable. SAP CRM, I don't know how penetrated that is, how much business they are doing these days. Oracle may have more, but again, I don't know how successful they are. Maybe in the enterprise space. So they are saying here they face competition from full-featured vendors such as your Salesforce, HubSpot, Microsoft Dynamics, legacy vendors such as your Oracle, SAP, Sage. This is the full-featured vendor, so they are talking about slightly more ERP-centric vendors, I guess. I don't know what they mean by full-featured vendors.
I think they're talking about overlap as opposed to being direct competitors, right?
Yeah, they are talking about competition, and they are talking about which all they compete with. So yes, to some extent overlap as well. And yeah, but here they are talking about full featured vendors. So my assumption of that comment is going to be Suite. They are referring to Suite, the vendors that offer a lot of offering as part of their CRM, CX bucket, as well as ERP. So that's why they have listed this. Oracle, SAP, Sage. Sage is very interesting. I don't know if Sage is even remotely comparable here. They never had any sort of CRM footprint, and I don't know if they ever had any ITSM footprint.
Well, they used to have a CRM system, but
right,
about 10 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So they removed the CRM footprint. They are not so, but this 24 annual filing, so they still have Sage for whatever reason.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. Hope you feel better, Andy. Okay, so EX products, and they are saying, for EX, and this is a right categorization because they are calling out ServiceNow, BMC. BMC was an EX. That is very interesting. BMC was a very ticketing centric system, and if they are calling that as EX, sure. Ivanti, Cherwell, and now they are talking about Atlassian as well, which is Jira. And I don't know if they are moving into the whole ticketing platform. Yes, Jira definitely was used a lot in that. They had several different products as part of their portfolio, so I can see why they would be competition. But this is all, for the most part, tech, media, heavy custom development shop. That's where you're going to find Atlassian, BMC. Those are also very IT heavy shops. I don't have any other comments here. If you guys have any comments, I can take those.
Nope.
Okay, so I'll keep going. Okay, so some comments coming from their stories, and these are the historical stories. So they are saying the company has over 2,200 paying customers in Australia and New Zealand, and this must be legacy, old, and I don't think we have a date here, but this must be like 2019, I believe. So seems like they did really well in Australia and New Zealand, which are very tricky market, and for the most part I guess you are going to find a little bit of overlap with Zero as well in this market space. So maybe Freshworks and Zero, they went together, I guess, in the market, and that's why they were so successful. And Zero is from Australia as well, so there should be some alignment there. And I don't know, and maybe QuickBooks had more alignment with Zendesk. There is a strong possibility. Shopify, Zendesk, QuickBooks, they were all going together in the market. So they are saying first ever customer globally was based in Australia, and so was our hundredth. So they have big presence in Australia. That's what they are talking about. Now there is a story. Freshworks has capitalized on the addition of the Sydney data center, so they have a data center as well. And I don't know how strict Australia is going to be with their data requirements, with their data center requirements. Canada generally is very strict. Now it's going to be stricter with the trade war. Everybody is probably going to be super strict in terms of where they are going to keep their data.
Is Freshworks popular in North America as well?
Yeah, they
So it's
definitely have.
worldwide.
Yeah, now they have a lot of logos everywhere, including North America. Yeah, but they did a lot of business in Asia, Australia, etc. before. Yeah. And they have a lot of privacy requirements, of customers in the enterprise and public sectors. So they were very successful in the public sector space in Australia. And again, the kind of privacy requirements that they are going to have are going to be very different. And that's where I guess their comment was in terms of the enterprise, them being enterprise, because the kind of workflow security layers that these government organizations are going to require is going to be at a different level. Here, this is the story coming for the announcement of acquisition. So this is the Netero, a leading customer success management software company. So now they have included the layer of customer success as well. And I don't think we have seen customer success as part of any platform so far. Even the most leading CRMs, they don't have customer success. Salesforce probably going to rely on add-ons. I don't think they have it inbuilt. HubSpot is not going to have that.
What's
Uh,
the definition of customer success in your
so
mind?
yeah, so this is going to be Andy, whatever happens after you sign the logos. So for the most part, when you look at the marketing cloud is going to be very pre-sales. Everything that happens in marketing world is happening there. Then you have the sales, and sales is also pre-sales. Sales is not necessarily post-sales.
Right.
The sales version of CRM, right? And then you have the customer service, which is going to be sort of the support. But the customer success is very different, because customer success is going to have the onboarding, the training workflows, the KPIs, different players that are collaborating across the workflow. How many of those are going to be there? So the customer success is a very different workflow. And again, I think the leading player in the customer success space were platforms such as Gainsight, and Gainsight, if my recollection is right. And I would think that Zendesk, Salesforce, they all are going to rely on that. So here, Freshworks is offering a lot more as part of their suite. I don't think we have seen this even with Zoho. Zoho has a lot, but I don't know if they have customer success as part of their platform. So this is very unique. And again, customer success is only going to be applicable in tech media centric organizations where you have very long sales cycle, very thick sales cycle. I don't know if industry companies are even going to have a role called customer success. So again, the processes are very different. So again, Freshworks is targeted towards those, tech, SaaS centric companies, and that's why they have this. And they are talking about Netero's, AI ML powered technology. The Freshworks platform puts actionable data in the hands of customer. Okay, it's all about data. Obviously, they need a lot of data. They need to do surveys. So you need all of those capabilities as well. That's what they are talking about. Some more stories here. So they are saying Freshworks joins hands with Orange One Corporation to aid digital transformation of businesses in Japan. And Orange One Corporation, I think that must be some sort of reseller, maybe a telco company. I don't know. And they are doing business together. In general, ITSM platforms are going to be very deep into telcos, and that's why they have that alignment. And then they have Freshworks and Mercado Liber can come together to deliver improved shopping experience. And if you are not familiar with, and Andy, I don't know if you have heard of them. Have you heard of Mercado Liber?
Well, no.
Um,
Mercado is market in Spanish.
Yes, exactly. So you nailed it, because this is supposed to be the Mexican payment platform. That's
Okay.
how I recognize them. So I don't know if they were present in Australian market as well, but seems like um, they must be global. So that's why they are coming together. But you are right. I think I knew them from Mexican market. They are very common there. You have likes of Stripe here, but I don't know how penetrated Stripe is going to be there because of geopolitical reasons, I guess. So payment is a different political game. So I don't know where all they are penetrated, but that seems to be a very interesting alignment. Then they are talking about where they were ranked. So they were ranked into voice of the customer, CRM, customer engagement center market report, and that's where I would position them as well. So Gartner is right here where they are positioning them. And I guess Pegasystems is one that we have not talked about so far, that they are in a very similar, space as well. Then you have mentions such as your Vonage and Freshworks enhance customer experience via multi-channel communication. And again, I don't know how successful Vonage was in commercial setting, but seems like they have some business there, because for the most part, Vonage I knew more from the residential setting. So seems like they have some alignment there, because I don't know how Freshworks could be used in the residential setting. So this has to be commercial. So that's a very interesting alignment as well. And I don't know where Vonage is from. Maybe they are from Australia. I don't know. But that's a very interesting alignment as well. Then 2019, they were named in Salesforce automation category, again by Gartner. So Salesforce automation, interesting that they were named there. And I don't know how you would define Salesforce automation. Maybe CPQ plays a role there. Yeah, I don't know. We don't have a quadrant in front of us, so it's very hard to comment. But Salesforce automation is going to be slightly different than the real CRM category. But seems like it could be closer to that. So they were getting ranked there. So means Freshworks definitely had very deep CRM capability. Then you have some more comments here. So Freshworks underpins global expansion with 61% year over year billings growth in Q2 2019. So obviously they were growing a lot. 61% is a lot. And this is coming from 2021. In 2021, they are saying the intelligent customer engagement software company. That's how they are positioning themselves in the customer engagement category. Today announced it surpassed 300 million in ARR. So 2021, they were 300, but now they are roughly what 700 that we have already checked. Right, Andy? Yeah, and they are growing, which is mind blowing.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. Here they are saying this is the fifth consecutive year that Freshworks has been named to the, and they were part of Forbes Cloud 100 as well. And Zoho's part of that. So these companies are doing really well. And they have roughly about 60,000 customers, which is not a lot, for their space, but seems like they have much larger logos. So now this is the most shocking comment that you are going to find. Okay. And this is TCS and Freshworks have been making it quick and easy for businesses to delight their customers and employees, completing over 150 digital transformation projects. Okay. This is crazy. This is wild, because TCS is involved with Freshworks. Can you believe this? And these implement. And generally, these companies don't touch. I'm talking about TCS. That unless the implementation is going to be roughly $1 million, $2 million, they don't touch them. And so Freshworks has done some enterprise work here. That's what it means when companies like TCS is excited about this. Means they are able to make some consulting money, some services money. That's why they would be involved in this. Otherwise, they would not. So, and that's why I feel Freshworks does have very enterprise presence, which is just commendable. Freshworks, a software company empowering the people who power business today, announced Freshworks CRM for e-commerce. And e-commerce is a very different play. So for the most part, I guess if you look at CRM for e-commerce, then you are probably going to think Klaviyo, maybe Mailchimp. Mailchimp, yeah, had a lot of presence in e-commerce. They had alignment with QuickBooks as well. So the reason why these guys would align here for e-commerce, and they are in the Shopify store as well. So Shopify pretty much has everybody, I guess. So that's a very interesting alignment. But the preferred, as far as my recollection goes, was there was a big alignment between Mailchimp, which is obviously owned by Intuit, and then Shopify. Those two were really aligned, if I remember right. So these guys are probably not going to be preferred, but they are definitely part of the App Store. So 2024 revenue roughly $700 million, which is just mind blowing. And this is the announcement of Device 42, and they are talking about IT infrastructure. That's where their play is, which we have already touched. So I'm actually going to move to the next one. This is the customer story, and the customer story is coming from Care4, and Care4 is a retail, organization. They are in the Europe region, and they have roughly 13,000 stores. Can you believe this? And those 13,000 stores are going to have devices that employees are going to carry. The store employees, they need to be managed from the cybersecurity perspective. You are going to have a bunch of POS. You are going to have handheld devices. So that's where your ITSM workflows become really important, because you need to provide support right away. If you are not able to provide that, then you are probably halting the operations of the store. That's why the whole employee experience is really important for retail. Some people might not be able to relate why that is really important, and that's why retail has a very different processes. And a real ERP is never going to work for you. So here they are talking about 15 different help desks managed support for IT supply chain, and supply chain is going to have very different support because they need to take care of the merchandising planning, so many different things, and they are going to have their own SLA as well. Then you have procurement; they are dealing with vendors as well. And I don't know here if all of those processes are being managed inside Freshworks. That could be a little interesting because you are keeping the state of your inventory in too many systems. In ITSM system, I don't know if that should keep the state of inventory. So that would be my problem if you're keeping the supply chain processes there. Logistics is different. You might be able to keep that because for the most part, the ERP systems are probably not going to be as good with the logistics collaboration. So they are probably doing that as well. Franchisee support is very interesting as well. And again, that becomes very tricky when you are going to have so many different franchisees where you are not going to be sharing the systems. So you need that collaboration as well. And that's where they are able to add that. And then finally, HR, which becomes very complicated with retail. Um, and that's where your WFM workflow is going to be common as well in managing those temp employees. They are literally leaving daily. They are charging every minute, I guess. So it becomes very, very, very complicated to manage that. So they are able to do that. They are saying equip 350 support agents across the organization. They are talking about seventh largest retailer in the world, one of the largest in Europe, with 360,000 employees and over 13,000 stores in 30 countries. So that's the kind of magnitude that we are talking about here. And then we have some more comments related to what they were using before. So they were using legacy ITSM tools, BMC Remedy, to the limits. So they were using BMC Remedy. So in my mind, in a lot of different scenarios, these legacy tools such as your BMC are being replaced here. They are the ones who are losing market share. I don't know what they are doing right now to guard their market share, to protect. So relies on Freshservice for retail store support, logistics management, data management, forecasting and replenishment. So they are doing all of that collaboration inside this. So we still have some time, so we can go for a couple of more slides. This is Village roadshow, and this is media and entertainment, which is going to be a very different industry in general. We have spoken about that, and here they are in Australia. So again, the favorite features when you ask them, okay, workflow automation, employee onboarding. So those two they are using it for. Now, if you are going to do employee onboarding in this one, then what is going to happen to your ACM system? Don't ask me that, because if you go back and review the Personio review that we have done, they were talking about workflow automation as well. So HR-centric workflow automation, the employee onboarding probably should happen inside your HR system, but then you are not necessarily going to give the access of HR system to you, or depending upon, let's say, if your managers are sort of filing ticket to onboard an employee, then that's probably going to be a different workflow. In that case, you might use this. So again, depending upon how your processes are structured. So here they are talking about legacy IT service management tool ServiceNow. So it's funny because they are calling ServiceNow legacy, which is just mind blowing, which is just crushing the stock market at this point of time. They are the ones who are talking about AI, and these guys are talking, calling ServiceNow as legacy. Fascinating.
That's marketing.
Yeah, exactly. Which made it difficult for the IT team to resolve over 2,000 IT tickets. And the complexity is definitely going to be there with ServiceNow, and that could be the reason why they felt that the ServiceNow was becoming bottleneck. And I don't know how big this company is. Maybe they were too small for ServiceNow, and so that could be a reason. This is very interesting. So in this business, you are talking about cinema, theme park sites with a continual turnover of hundreds of young casual workers. So again, you are going to have very different processes there. Even for theme parks, you are going to have very different devices that you need to manage. The IT support is going to be very different. You need to support in areas where internet may not be as reliable. So you have different challenges there. So that's why the ITSM support becomes very important for these businesses. They are talking about contracts management. Used to be a big headache. So I don't know if they are doing CLM piece in this. That would be overstretching, I would say, the boundary of Freshdesk. But depending upon what your architecture and processes are, I guess, and depending upon how many systems you have. But this seems very interesting. They are doing a lot more, from the supply chain procurement perspective, which I would not expect in a very workflow collaboration system. Okay, so I think we are close to our time now. So I don't know if you guys are going to have any sort of comments.
Well, it seems like a very robust, very full functioning system. And again, we've talked about overlap with a number of these other CRM solutions or ITSM solutions. Evaluating and understanding the differentiations and where the benefits of a specific system are keeps getting harder and harder. Every system claims to do everything, and really understanding the differentiations, it's becoming a nightmare. So, my recommendation is kind of what I recommend to everyone looking at ERPs as well, is to ask for companies that are similar to yourself that are using these ITSM systems and speak to them about the exact functionality you expect and make sure it does what you expected.
Yeah, great point, Andy. Thank you so much. Shrestha, do you have any comments?
Nothing to add on. I just felt like their growth over the years was commendable. And in the ITSM sector, and but as Andy pointed out, that the confusion still stays on even now. So I think the only solution is to know more about these solutions and analyze it properly.
And it's a darn good thing that everyone has smart guys like Sam Gupta available to help them.
We all are smart and we all are equally capable. So yeah, I mean, glad that they have access to us. More comments, guys? No? All right, guys. So that's a wrap. If you joined for the first time, this was part of our industry series for which we meet at 2:00 every Tuesday. So we make sure you guys are going to be here next week. We are going to come back with another solution or the vendor. On that note, thanks everyone for tuning in today.
Thank you so much, Sam.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the WBS Podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. For more information on growth strategies for SMBs using ERP and digital transformation, check out our community at WBS.rocks. We'll see you next time.